We begin today's Creepy in British Columbia, Canada, where we meet the ghost of Fantan Alley in Victoria's Chinatown. And we'll investigate the tales of haunting at historic Keefer House in Thorold, Ontario. And on the Manitoba-Minnesota border, we visit an abandoned amusement park used by a serial killer as his base of operations.
It is believed that many hauntings are caused by extreme emotion and dramatic events. That may be the reason that more than 100 years after a rejected lover committed a horrible murder, the ghost of the anguished murderer still roams the streets of Victoria's Chinatown.
I was walking with a friend, and it was a very clear night. Not a lot of noise or other distractions. We turned into Fantan Alley, when all of a sudden we heard someone running up behind us. And we got pushed into the brick walls. We looked around to see what was there, and there was no one.
A young man, spurned by the woman he loves, is moved to commit the most heinous crime, murder. But after the deed is done and the anger has passed, he finds he cannot live with his crime. But suicide does not provide release, and his spirit is trapped in this world, reliving his crime forever.
I was shopping in Chinatown. I picked up a few groceries, realized I was running late, so I headed down an alley.
Watch it! Oh, that kid nearly knocked me over. What kid? That kid, the kid that just ran by. There's no one there. Just some.
I had not heard anyone coming up behind me, and whoever it was really shoved me hard.
We're now entering Fantan Alley, and I'd just like to ask you to gather around this way because this is an amazing story. It happened to me 6 years ago when we were coming into the alley just as we are now, and a woman was acting very oddly, and I had no idea.
We were in the alley listening to John tell the story of this horrible incident, and while he was talking, I heard a noise behind me, footsteps. So I turned around and saw this man coming right at me. He was covered in blood and wielding what looked like a butcher's knife. I was terrified. I screamed and covered my head, but nothing happened. When I looked up again, he was gone. There was no sign of him. So I ran up to John and said, "Did you see him, that man?"
Did you see him? Did you see him?
But John just shook his head. I couldn't believe it. No one else had seen or heard that man. Then John said, "Congratulations."
I think you've just seen the ghost of Fantan Alley.
It's no mystery who the ghost of Fantan Alley is, and of a few other places in Victoria as well. It's Chan Ah-Han, a young boy, just 17 years old, employed as a bed maker at the American Hotel. The year was 1889. Yip Tang ran a brothel on Fiskard Street. One of his prostitutes was a beautiful young woman by the name of Yao, and Chan had fallen in love with her. He came by many times. He talked to her at the window, and one day he proposed to her. She thought he was joking, and she laughed at him and said she couldn't leave Yip Tang. So he came back the next day with a vial of poison. He passed it to her through the window and said, "Pour it in Yip Tang's food, kill him and his wife, and then you can come with me." She now realized he'd meant it. But the boy was penniless, and she knew what the penalty for murder was. Yes, she was a prostitute, but she was better off living with Yip Tang. And so she had to tell the boy to get lost, to go away, and never come back. And she did it so brutally, the boy lost face. He did stay away, but he came back. He came back with a friend. The friend crept along the buildings. Yao hadn't seen them. The friend reached in the window and grabbed Yao by the hair. She was screaming. She didn't know what was going on. And that gave Chan just enough time to reach into his jacket and take out the meat cleaver. And in one fell swoop, he chopped her head off. There was pandemonium. There was blood everywhere. The boy fled. He ran, for all he was worth, through the maze of alleys in Chinatown, including Fantan Alley, and then he reached Yates Street. He saw Tommy Burns, the owner, standing in front. Tommy wondered why Chan was looking so scared and frightened. Chan ran right past him and around the back of the hotel. The next day he wasn't at work, or the next day either. And when Tommy saw a wanted poster, he knew exactly what had happened. Reward, $150, it said, for information leading to the arrest of a young man wanted for murder in Chinatown. And the description was exactly Chan's. He went to the police, tipped them off, and brought them back to the American Hotel, where they found Chan hiding in the coal bin. He was arrested and taken to the jail. Just 2 days later, the boy took his shirt and hanged himself in his cell. He became a wandering ghost.
I'm Alison Skelton, and I'm a psychic consultant, and I'm here to see if I can get some information, some feelings about this alley and what went on here, and the runaway murderer from Fantan Alley. And yeah, I'm just gonna see what happens. As soon as I get into the alley, I sort of feel this sense of resistance, like there is something not wanting me to move too far into the alley. And as I get further into it, I'm starting to pick up on a slight sense of anxiety. My heart's beginning to beat rapidly, and a sense of apprehension is coming over me. I have a feeling that it's this part of this particular area of the alley where people have experienced the feeling of being pushed, as somebody, as if somebody is running down the alley and pushing them aside to get past. Because yeah, I want to walk this way, and I feel like there's some obstruction, and this is where the obstruction takes place, almost right opposite this archway. So this might be the spot at which people feel that sense of being pushed. I'm feeling like I want to sort of spin around here, like I want to turn, like just turn, and I don't know what that is. It's probably not somebody who was turning, but it's an energy or a force that has created a kind of whirling feeling just in this space. Again, that sense of turmoil is quite strong right here. So what I felt when entering the alley from Pandora Street was an immediate sense of resistance, as if something was gently but firmly resisting my walking down the alley, as if there's a flow of energy coming towards me. And then when the alley narrowed again there was a feeling of the concentration of energy, but it felt quite different than at the other end. Now that I'm out of the alley, it feels much more open and accessible and happy and alive, and there doesn't feel like the same sort of pressure. Chan Ahung, speak to me via this flame. I'm seeing the face of a man with one of those black Chinese caps on his head. There's the cap, and there's a rather sad-looking face right in here. And he just seems to be in amongst all of this turmoil. Still, it's almost like he's trapped, and this may be what he's trying to say is that I'm trapped. I can't get out of this. And I'm just going to turn it over and look at it from different angles. Okay, and then when I look at it from this angle, I'm seeing another image altogether, another face with a mouth and an eye with the hair. What it feels like I'm getting here is there's a lot of different faces coming through. This one seems to be in here, an eye, mouth, almost like it's wearing a mask. But it looks much more, it feels much more sort of suspicious and veiled and slightly hidden, like it's angry. So I'm definitely getting that Chana Hung is angry that he is trapped in this constant feeling of having to relive or re-experience this event and the running away and the turmoil and just that feeling of also fleeing for his life. Just, horribly distressing. And that's probably a lot of what I was picking up in the alley when I was getting that anxiety and that thumping in my heart, that feeling of, fight or flight, that I think is probably what's being expressed through some of those images.
A love turned to hatred and a terrible murder. Is this what compels Chan's ghost to run through the streets of Chinatown? A soul still shocked by the horror of his crime, searching for the peace that has eluded him for 100 years. Keefer Mansion, sitting on a hill overlooking the Welland Canal in Thorold, Ontario, has 200 years of history within its walls. After sitting empty for several years, it is being restored to its original grandeur. But future visitors should be forewarned that many of the building's previous inhabitants are said to be still living there as ghosts.
This happened at the Keefer residence during a restoration process. I was working on the second floor, and I descended down to the first floor to pick up some materials. I turned to my left to notice a person walking towards me. It was a figure that was looking very sickly and wet. I yelled out for assistance. Hello? Because I wished to help this person. When I turned back to look at this person, the person had disappeared. And there was no moisture on the floor. Thinking it was an illusion, I turned to my right and I was going to leave the spot, but suddenly this figure lurched at my throat. It started to strangle me, and I felt that I was going to lose consciousness. Suddenly, from the second floor, one of my co-workers yelled down, "Hey, Bob!" As I suddenly came back to my senses, I noticed that my hands were tightly around my throat, and they were dripping with water. Also, as I removed my hands from my throat, I noticed my chest was thoroughly soaked. I decided to move away very quickly, run for my life, never to return to the Keefer residence again.
If these walls could talk. The Keefers acquired this property in the early 1800s. Then, during the War of 1812, it became a field hospital. Keefer House was a hospital again during the post-Second World War baby boom, and until recently, a geriatric hospital. This house has witnessed many births and an equal number of deaths. Some say the building still holds the spirits of those who lived and died within its walls.
We're here in Thorold, Ontario, here at the Keefer Mansion, also known as Maplehurst, and we're going to be going inside investigating as a team. And I'm Stephanie from Haunted Hamilton, and I'm going to be documenting the entire investigation here with the camcorder, the camera for taking pictures, and I also have dividing rods here to use tonight too. Well, we're here in the basement of the Keefer Mansion. Maybe if we have the psychics lead us around now?
There's several nasty spots down here we could go take a look at. First one is this room back here with the blue door. I do not like this room. I know that at one point this was a hospital. This to me feels like it would have been the morgue. It's just really creepy. It feels like death. It's very closed in. It's just extremely unnerving going into this room. I'm not getting any conscious energy here. It's just, like I said, I deal in emotion, so this is really one of those spaces where unhappiness rested for so long. It's hard to breathe in here. I don't want to stay in here.
George Keefer built the first house on this site. It was a log cabin. He lived there with his first of 4 wives, Catherine, and their children. In 1812, he joined the Lincoln Militia. In 1813, his original log home was taken over by U.S. troops to serve as an army hospital. His wife, Catherine, offered to help, a selfless act of bravery that cost her her life. She died a short time later of typhoid fever.
I was working at the Keefer Inn and I was on break. I was just exploring the other floors of the house. When I was walking down one of the hallways, something caught the corner of my eye. There was a man sitting in the chair. So I got a little closer and I noticed that the man was wearing a soldier's uniform. Immediately I thought it was one of my buddies playing a prank or a joke or something. So I went right up to the soldier and noticed it wasn't breathing. There was no signs of life or anything. Suddenly, he gasped. He fell to the ground and started crawling towards me. Then he just stopped. And suddenly, this woman just came out of nowhere and tried to pick him up, was trying to help this soldier off the ground. I started yelling. I asked if he needed any help, what was going on. She didn't respond at all. She didn't say one thing. She eventually got a good hold of him and tried to drag him out of the hallway and into this other room. I followed them, and right then, I just couldn't believe what I saw. She dragged him into the wall. They just disappeared. After break, some of my buddies came back and I told them what happened. They started laughing and thought I was making it up. No one believed me. No one believed what I saw.
In the corner of this room, there is a small bricked-in area that looks like it may have been a secret passageway. If you look around the corner here, there is a small spot you can see has been bricked over with red brick and painted again. This is where we think the underground tunnel came up in this house. These are the divining rods. We're using them to try and discern where the entrance to the tunnel was in this house, so we're asking it to point in the direction of the tunnel.
Let's see if ours match up or not.
We'll see. Mine keeps stopping right
Look
in
at
that
mine
direction.
too.
The Keefers were highly trained and respected engineers. In fact, Keefers were involved in a number of significant projects across the country in early days of development. George Keefer worked with William Hamilton Merritt as president of the Welland Canal Company. Samuel Keefer and Thomas Coltrane Keefer were involved in overseeing the Parliament buildings, building the waterworks at Hamilton, building the suspension bridge at Niagara Falls, as well as bridges in Montreal, and driving the rail lines through the Great Rockies. A further Keefer, Hugh Keefer, was a reported property speculator and gambler. He was also a very savvy contractor. It's reported that one of his favorite gambling partners was Jesse James. It's also reported that the only Donnelly to have survived the police raid that ended the lives of most Donnellys owes his life to the fact that he had a previous engagement at the card tables of Hugh Keefer. One of Hugh's favorite games was euchre, and the number of steps up from the street to this famous mansion equals 24, the same number of cards in the euchre deck.
A man was working on the top floor of the Keefer house recently when he heard noises coming through the wall. It sounded like a card game was going on in the next room. Men's voices and laughter and the clinking of glasses. Suddenly, he heard a voice behind him. The stranger paused for a second, then appeared to walk into a wall. The laborer was taken aback. Then curiosity overcame his fear. He pushed and pulled against the bookcase where the figure had disappeared, and a secret room opened up. Inside, there were 3 men, dressed like the first, and just as drunk, sitting around a card table. One of the players caught sight of him, and instantly, the whole scene vanished. The worker couldn't believe what he had just seen.
The Keefer Mansion was eventually sold, and for most of the 20th century, it served as either a maternity hospital or a chronic care facility. The chronic care facility treated patients with both physical and mental illnesses.
I came to the Keefer Manor that day to do some business with the new owners. I run a catering business. Well, that day my babysitter was sick, so I had to bring my 8-year-old son with me. Well, when I brought him in, there was this really pretty room. It had a huge fireplace. So I sat my son down and I said, "Hun, can you stay here?" So after my interview, I came back and I was observing from the doorway and I was watching him, and it looked like he was talking to someone.
That's my mom. She's a cook.
Well, I was just watching him, and all of a sudden the figurines he was playing with, they started to float. It freaked me out. So I ran in there and grabbed his hand and we went running out. It was just, honestly, it was one of the most scariest things I've ever seen.
Okay, I think we're gonna go head to the washroom. I sent something over there before when we were down here. In here, I'm sensing that there was some little operations going on people, and then they would take them out into the morgue. Even younger kids, like 15, 16-year-olds. Oh, it's just an awful feeling.
It's just an imprint of?
I don't know. I think it is just an imprint, but I can feel it all down my body. I can feel shaking, and as if they didn't finish and the person died, and then just took them out. I can't stay in here anymore.
No? It's really strong?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the psychics don't prepare themselves and they walk into a situation where there's a lot of emotional pain or turmoil. They're just completely overwhelmed and they have to get out of that situation. It's like walking into a massive electrical field and getting zapped, and it just knocks you back, and it's too much for them to take, and they got to back off and reassert themselves. Yeah, we need to take a couple minutes, wind down. She's really overwhelmed here. It was really strong, whatever was in there, and she really needs to shut the cameras off for a couple minutes, wind down.
This is one of the things about investigating when you're psychic and sensitive. You can go into a place and there's absolutely nothing, go back 5 minutes later and there's a conscious spirit there. I think that's what's just happened to Debbie. We were down here earlier doing a preliminary investigation and we were fine. I mean, the feelings were bad in that room, but we had no storyline to go with it. Now, she walked in again and immediately was confronted with a young boy who had been killed, or she feels that this young boy was killed in that room. So she is now dealing with carrying him with her for the time being, trying to figure out what to do with him. You okay?
It really hit her, whatever it was. It was really brutal.
I saw, I think it was 15, 16-year-old, and it was like a low bed, and they were doing something to his throat, and he wasn't quite sleeping yet, or whatever they did. I don't know if they had anesthetic or anything in that time. And they were doing something to his throat, but he wasn't quite sleeping, and he could feel it, and he was. Then I felt him that there was blood splurting out of his throat, and that he had died on the table when.
Yeah, sometimes, especially Debbie, she really gets the physical effects of what spirits feel at the end of their life, and whatever happened to this boy, whatever operation it was, like Debbie took on everything that he was feeling up to the last moments, and she was just completely overwhelmed. We had to take her out of the situation, take her upstairs. She was ice cold. We were holding her hand. We had to try and calm her down. It's just, this hasn't happened very often, but it even scared me. I'm not used to seeing her like this, and we do investigations all the time.
A nurse who was working the late shift in the 1940s had a strange encounter with a ghost from an earlier time. She was doing a final check downstairs when she smelled cigar smoke. It came from a man dressed in a hospital gown. Thinking he'd wandered away from his ward, she approached the man.
Excuse me, sir.
As she watched the man slowly turn to face her, she was attacked by a group of deranged patients. The onslaught suddenly stopped. Her mysterious attackers had vanished. More than just a building, Keefer Mansion is a piece of Canadian history. Visitors are encouraged to come and visit, but they should keep an eye out for the spirits who still call it home. The crowds have long gone from Pennyland Amusement Park. The band has packed up. The revelers gone home. An eerie silence has replaced the sounds of laughter as the buildings await the Wrecker's Ball.
The strangest moment of my life actually happened here. I do a lot of exploring, and I came across this abandoned amusement park, and I noticed that there were some lights on, so I came in to see if there was actually anything happening. This girl appears, and she's smashed against this window, and her face is cut up, and she's bleeding. She really looked like she needed some help, so I go to see if there's anything I can do, and this guy's in my way, and then I see that he has a knife. So he starts coming for me. Then all the lights in the gazebo go out. The lights come back on, and the guy and the girl are gone. All that's left was this bloody handprint. And it disappears right in front of me. It really was the strangest moment of my life.
Amusement parks evoke happy memories of childhood innocence, the joy of family outings and simple thrills. But the derelict Pennyland Amusement Park on the Manitoba-Minnesota border became the setting for the perverted pleasures of a tormented soul who dragged his victims here to their deaths.
I'm standing here in Pennyland Amusement Park, which is now abandoned, but during its 25 years of operation, over 200,000 people walked through its gates to enjoy its rides and amusements. Behind me is where the Ferris wheel stood. It was as beautiful as anything on Coney Island, but there was a terrible accident in which several people died, and the park had to shut down. Later on, something even more bizarre and dark occurred.
The abandoned buildings of Pennyland became the setting for the most horrible of crimes, perpetrated by a madman, the details of which are not known to these intrepid investigators from Borderland Paranormal Research.
I'm Casey Fantan. I'm here with my team, Barry,
and we brought in a psychic, Sebastian. We're at Pennyland Amusement Park. It's been abandoned for a few years now. We understand there's been some activity going on here. We wanted to come down to see if we could find anything. Sebastian, what about you? You feeling anything?
Well, it takes me a little bit of time to kind of settle in and feel what's here, but I feel like there's like a lightness of color, like the fun of an amusement park, but there's also something, I don't know, like more in the foreground that's like a kind of a dark, hollow shape, but I don't really know exactly.
Now, I know nothing about this park.
What it is.
What about you? Did you know anything about this place?
No, I never, I mean, I don't want to know anything about it in advance. It's kind of better to feel the present.
Okay, I understand that. Well, let's keep moving to see if we can find anything, okay?
Hey, Casey, I'm starting to pick up some activity here.
Right around here?
Yeah, levels are getting high again.
Well, I do know that this is where the Ferris wheel once stood, and the workings are right underneath there. What about you, Sebastian? You feeling anything?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's really grim.
How do you feel about going down?
Casey, I don't know why I do this.
It's gonna be all right. We got so close the last time. I just want to see what else we can.
All right, you guys come here. Okay. I know this is kind of corny, but I need you to hold my hands. Okay. Okay, Terry. I actually want to sit down. You don't have to.
Okay. No, we're with you. You okay, Sebastian? Sebastian? Okay, Sebastian, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. Come on, Sebastian. Come on, let's get out of here. I'm gonna get you out. Okay, what's going on? What's going on?
It was like a breath was being cut off. My breath was being cut off.
Do you want to stay or do you need to go? That was pretty intense.
Don't worry, you just
I got it. Go ahead.
Casey's got it.
When you join the police force, you have an idea of what you might encounter when you're on the job. One night I got a call. It seems somebody found a body at the old Pennyland Amusement Park. I searched, and I found the body. Obvious overdose, a vagrant, next to the toilets. Now, when a body's found, we generally do a routine search of the grounds, and send a car in a wagon. That's exactly what I did. Only when I looked under the old Ferris wheel, what I found next. I found two more bodies. The smell. Those young girls. No amount of training could have ever prepared me for what I saw that night. I still can't get it out of my head. That was my last night on the force. I just can't bear to see anything like that again. How could someone be capable of that?
This is the main area of the amusement park, like the main thoroughfare.
Casey, I'm getting high readings again.
Sebastian, feeling anything around here?
Somebody was trapped in here. Inside here. Somebody was confined in here. I can tell if it's more than one person. I can't tell.
You guys, this thing just spiked at 9.8. Just kicked out altogether. That's not supposed to happen.
No, that's a brand new piece of equipment.
Listen, we get it. I have another one. We're gonna get it.
Look, I think we should all stay together. Come on, Sebastian.
Arliss Stanton was a career criminal with a long arrest record. Unfortunately, he was also schizophrenic. But as long as he took his medication, he was okay. After he was released from the state prison, he took up residence here in the abandoned park. Unfortunately, he also went off his medication.
Where manifestations have been reported is in this public restroom here, so I want us to go inside to see what we can see, okay? Yep. Got your equipment ready, Barry? I'm getting a temperature reading of 55.
Yeah, and the EMF meter's rising.
Sebastian, I just can't do this anymore.
Still rising.
I understand it's really difficult. If you could just help us out a little bit longer, I'd appreciate it. The temperature has dropped. It's now 49 degrees.
There's something really dark over here.
Well, look, I got something, guys. Look here, Casey.
Oh.
Ectoplasm. Yeah. These cameras, you get 3 levels of manifestations. First are the spirit orbs, that's the lowest. Then what we have here, which is ectoplasm, which is probably something trying to manifest itself.
I see the temperature has dropped another 7 degrees.
There's somebody very, very lonely, angry. Unfinished business.
Any idea what that is?
No. It's a man.
Okay. That was really strange. Let's get out of here. Come on, Sebastian. Come on, Barry. Now, I wanted to come back in this room to check out exactly what happened. Now, this is an enclosed space with stone walls. Now, there's no way any vibrations from us walking around in there could have knocked this over. There's no sign of any animals being in here. So this is extremely significant. There's definitely something going on here.
2 of his victims were dancers at a local gentleman's club. One of the dancers danced under the name of Angel. She was also a former ballet dancer, and for some reason she caught the public's eye. Hers is one of the spirits that haunts this park. People have come to refer to her as the Angel.
So, I was walking in the woods by this old abandoned amusement park at night. I saw this vision. It was a woman, and she was beautiful. She was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. she vanished. She just completely disappeared. I don't know where she came from, and I don't know where she went. There was a window, and I went to look in the window, and she was hideous. She was covered with blood. She was clawing at the window panes with her hands. And then she disappeared. And I was terrified, and I fled. And I've never seen anything like it, and I've never heard of anything like it, and that's what happened.
The police found blood, hair, and tissue samples in the room behind me, which led them to believe that this is where the murders took place. The killings were slow, brutal, and of a ritualistic nature. The police only found 2 bodies here, but they did find other blood, hair, and tissue samples, which led them to believe that as many as 10 people may have been brought here as victims.
Okay, guys, this is where the carousel actually was, right there. See that? God, this is a great building. Sebastian, you feel anything here? Yeah. Yeah. Barry, I want to ask some questions.
Okay, look, I'll get the EVP set up.
Okay.
Here's a table over here.
All right. Make sure those boards are safe.
Nice, it's here.
Oh.
I got something on here.
What is that?
Hold on.
Watch the nails.
It's a box. It's a box.
Oh my God. Jesus, oh my God. Look at this. Oh my God. This is definitely more than just paranormal evidence. It's forensic. Look at this.
I don't want to look at it.
Look at, oh my God. I think we should get out of here.
I'm ready.
I'll take this with us. Come on. Let's go. Come on, Barry. We were in the space where the carousel used to be, and Sebastian felt something, and we went down to this hole and found this box, and it's got pictures of women with duct tape on their mouths, and there's a bloody knife. I can't talk about this anymore. I need to.
The evidence gathered by the paranormal research team is still being studied, and we hope that the evidence will lead to the identification of some of the other victims.